This is Garrett J. White, the authentic entrepreneur, coming at you real, raw, and relevant. And here, I'm gonna unplug my car there. I'm sitting in Las Vegas, Nevada, out towards Lake Las Vegas. I just went over and made a deposit at the Chase Bank. Can you see that Chase Bank right there? Chase Bank, formerly Washington Mutual, WAMU. Bought out by Chase, get it on, get it on, get it on. But here was a question that came up for me today, right? I get it, I'm coming at you real, raw, and relevant. Forgot that part, but you can excuse me for today. Just got done speaking with my business partner, Brett Harward, out at Lake Las Vegas at the Lowe's Resort for CEO Space. Thank you, Bernie Dorman. If you don't know anything about CEO Space, it's a massive, powerful entrepreneur networking group. You can check that out at ceospace.net, ceospace.net. So here was a question I had as I went into the bank this morning. I asked myself, does money, having it or not have it, does it increase or decrease certainty? And what is the connection of that certainty to your ability to show up in power in your business? Okay, so first off, let's define certainty. Certainty for me is being a core knowing. It's not having to fake, it's no bullshit, it's not like having to be something that you're not. Certainty comes from within, and I found that through the years of my life that certainty can never come outside of you. Like, it doesn't affect you from the outside, or that's a lie. It does affect you from the outside, but the true certainty that wants to last and goes deep cannot ever be found in things. It can't be found in my car, it can't be found in this Ensure protein shake, it can't be found in my jacket or the keys to this car or, you know, whatever. Even this diaper that my daughter doesn't even use anymore, and I used it yesterday to wipe stuff off as we were driving to Las Vegas because it was snowing and now it's sunny and it's like whatever, right? So certainty itself then comes from within. But then the question came from me, if it comes from within, how does the outside world affect your certainty? And specifically in the conversation of money, because here's what I can remember. I remember being in places financially after 2007 going into January 2008 when I couldn't make my mortgage payment on my house. You know, I went from making more money than I ever thought I could spend my whole life, honestly, by about the beginning of 2007 to a place of, geez, you know, what am I going to do? I can't even pay my bills. I remember one night I was laying in bed with my wife and she said, you know, what are we going to do financially? And I said, if you're so stressed out, go get a freaking job. Now, I use a different word for that, but, you know, here in this, we're going to use a different replacement for it. And I asked that question, so, you know, go get a freaking job. And I knew I'd hit the lowest part in my life at that point in business, and particularly in my world. And, you know, I didn't realize that how dark things had gotten. And it was crazy because at that time when I tried to show up to sell or I'd try to show up to create, I showed up needy. And I showed up wanting. And I showed up like attaching. And so when clients would come in to experience me, I was in this super needy place for a while, and it was really tough. And then I found it was interesting as we started to have success in business again and things started to turn around and financially things started to improve for us, what I found was that my certainty went up. But the crazy thing for me is that I don't believe that certainty comes from outside, but somehow there's a massive impact. Meaning our outside world is directly related to and connected to our inner world. Our inner world creates the outer world. This T. Harv Eker, our good friend from T. Harv Eker, which, by the way, get to speak at his Wizards Academy here at the end of April. Got booked here recently with Garrett Gunderson. Fantastically excited to go speak to 2,000 entrepreneurs there. But in this space, in this place of this kind of conversation, how do my roots affect my fruit, as T. Harv Eker says? You know, how does my inner game affect my outer game, my money blueprint, as he calls it? And is it possible that my outer world of money has an impact on my inner world of certainty? And here's what I'm going to tell you. On the physical plane of survival, hell yes, it does. And then once we get above that, we move from surviving to what I call thriving. And thriving is where now we're not just trying to avoid pain, we're in the pursuit of pleasure. And in the pursuit of pleasure, we move up to the mental realm or the mental experience of money, of life. And in that realm, in that space, there's increased power and certainty, but it still ultimately is not the highest. And that is when we move to the ultimate plane, which is a spiritual plane of what we and Garrett Gunderson call soul purpose. Steve D'Annunzio, our mentor, who taught us that. Steve D'Annunzio wrote the book, The Prosperity Paradigm. You can find out more about what he's up to at the soulpurposeinstitute.com, soulpurposeinstitute.com. So in that space, though, that certainty coming from the spiritual, the mental, or the physical plane changes based upon outer circumstance. And for me, it started changing here, you know, just thinking about the days when I didn't have any money in my bank accounts and I was like in the hole like $1,600 on all my accounts. I didn't know where I was going to get money to put gas in my car. I was totally struggling. In that place, it required such a deep spiritual connection for me to gain certainty. So anyways, these are just kind of my thoughts today. I think that there's some kind of connection. I don't necessarily have it all figured out. There's some kind of connection between the outer world and the inner world and our manifested fruit. And when it's not result driven, when there's no financial fruit, that there is an impact on what's going on in internal certainty. So my question today is, what does it take? Does money have an impact on our certainty in business? And the second question with that is, what would you go about doing to create increased certainty if money's not available? Like if financially money's not available, what do you do? And maybe in the next couple downloads, I'll give you what I'll do. All right, this is Garrett J. White reminding you to be real, be raw, be relevant, and most importantly, to be authentic.